3, 2, live.
Good evening and thank you and welcome back to our board meeting. And I do want to make sure that we're clear before we start the meeting of two things. One, in accordance with the California Department of Health, CDPH health order, masks are required for all individuals in an indoor public setting, regardless of vaccination status, from December 15th, 2021 through February 15th, 2022, unless you are like me and sitting in my office all by myself, quarantining. So I did want to make sure that we had that clear before we came back into open session. In closed session, we discussed labor negotiations and student discipline. At this point in time, I would like to make sure that we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask VP Chris Forehand. He's been very busy this evening, if he will lead us in that pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I took my video off so you didn't have to see me stand. Thank you very much, Vice President Forehand. And we will now go into the executive summary of our workshops. And Mrs. Reed, would you like to share with us what we did at 4:15 today?
Thank you so much, President Hill. Today we spoke a little bit about Senate Bill 328, which is actually signed in 2019, and it requires California high schools and middle schools to change their school start time. So the bill actually doesn't allow California high schools to start before 8:30 in the morning, beginning next school year with the 22-23 school year, and California middle schools before 8 a.m. And so we did share the new start times for next school year. So Oak Middle School will be starting at 8:40 a.m. and ending at 3 p.m., which is only a 10-minute time difference for Oak. McCullough Middle School start and stop times will remain the same next year, beginning at 8:45 a.m. and ending at 3:10. And Los Alamitos High School will start at 8:30 in the morning and end at 3:17 p.m. So a 30-minute time difference to a later start and ending time at Los Alamitos High School. All this information Ed Services will be sending out to our parents, TK through 12th grade, later this week in an informational email that has a lot of pertinent information for the 22-23 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. And would you also share just a little bit about Hopkinson and their school report, just so people understand when we're doing our school reports?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that reminder. So we were very fortunate to have Francis Hopkinson Elementary School join us today. Their principal, Mrs. Evelyn Garcia, shared a presentation about campus life, student culture, teaching and learning. We were also graced by the Hopkinson Chorus. They sang the national anthem for us, and we had two wonderful student speakers that joined Mrs. Garcia at this podium that spoke about their time at Hopkinson Elementary. With the changes to schedules this year, we are hosting our school site presentations during our workshop portion of our meeting moving forward for the school year.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Reed. It was wonderful, and it is so incredibly refreshing to have our school reports back in the boardroom, even though I wasn't there today, but back in the boardroom with students and choirs and singing, and it's just amazing. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So I believe, Mrs. D'Angelo, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go through my president's report without a clicker, but Tina and I are simpatico. So, so thank you very much. And I'm very excited and honored to be president as we move forward into this year. And I thought long and hard about what some of the things are that I'd like to do and like to highlight as president. And understand that we are a 5-member board and we are equal. Everyone is equal on our board. But the president gets the opportunity to lead the meetings and to also share a president's report. And so one of the things that I'd like to really focus on is information that I'm hearing in the weeks leading up to the board meeting, and be able to share some of that information from emails and other things that we're getting. I also believe that some of the initiatives that we're doing are really, really important. And so one of the things that I know this board is very strong about, and that is educating the whole child. And when we look at the whole child, it's not just about the education of reading, writing, and arithmetic. There is so much more to a child and so much it takes to get a child ready to learn. And we have seen that in the last 2 years. And we have seen repeatedly that right now, everybody, I believe, no matter where you are on a political spectrum, believes that children need to be in classrooms and need to be in school. And we also know that there has been a lot of trauma that students have gone through. And we live in an amazing community with so much support and parents that support their children. But there's just a lot for these kids to take right now. And I've had the opportunity to speak with kindergartners up to high school kids. And you can see in their eyes, and when they're honest with you and they talk about their feelings, it's something we really need to address. And so we really address it reactively. We've been doing that with counseling, and we heard from Hopkinson all these different things that our wellness programs are doing, but we also want to be proactive and we want to look forward. And so the wellness initiative that our counselors have put together is just amazing. And we can all use a little bit of being proactive in taking care of our wellness and our mental health. And so I wanted to highlight this, and hopefully we'll highlight it every month, because I also want parents to know what is being talked about and what the wellness initiative is, so that you can bring it into your own home as well. Because there's nothing more powerful than doing that, connecting what is happening in the classroom with what is happening in your house. And so I loved this. I love that we're goal setting. I've never been a resolution person. I've always been a goal person. And so I personally look every year at my goals, between Christmas and New Year's, look at my year goal, my 5-year goal, and my 10-year goals, and really make that a focus on where I'm starting the year. I also love that our schools are using what are called SMART goals. In my professional career, I've written many articles on SMART goals. And maybe you don't know what the acronym stands for. We use acronyms and always think everybody knows what they are, but we don't always know what they are. So I thought I'd clear it up for you. S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and T is for time-based. And so these are things that you can ask your children about when you are having your dinner meals, or when you pick them up from school, and ask them how they are applying these things with their goals and in what they want. And healthy habits is one of the most important things I believe that we can really help students with as they move forward. That is a skill that will stay with them for a lifetime. So even though you may be a goal setter every year, it doesn't hurt to be able to relook at that with your children and have this really helpful tool. So Mrs. D'Angelo, we can move to 2 slides forward. So ask your students what information they have. The next thing I'd like to just touch on is a segment that I think I'm going to start calling Did You Know? So one of the things I've heard from parents in the last month, 2 months, is, the district doesn't listen to us. We don't have any way to get involved. We don't have any way to have our voices heard. And that makes me very sad, because I know that there are so many ways that parents can get involved. And so what the problem must be is that we must not be doing as an effective a job of communicating that. And staff does a great job and principals do a great job, but I think that sometimes you can't communicate enough. And I think also, as they talk about, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. I also think when a parent is ready to get involved, we want to make sure that they know where they can do that and what those opportunities are. So we have listed several different ways that are on this slide. And I just want to say that if you are interested in making sure you know when parent education nights are, our Ed Services Department is the one that schedules a lot of times with different sites and really helps out with those, and they can help you know when those are. One of the concerns I've heard from parents is, and I heard it with the Hopkinson report, is that we would love to be able to do a lot of these virtually as well, because we've seen that attendance has gone up dramatically because parents can still be home with their student and be involved in that parent education as well. And so I think that's something we've really learned and taken away from this. A lot of times our speakers won't allow us to record them. So just know that, and you can understand that. So, but look into educational services for parent nights. School site councils is something you can talk to your principal about, and that's really understanding about what is happening at that school site as it relates to curriculum and classes as well. And so that's a very, very important part. Then we have District Advisory Committee that we call DAC, and DAC does several different things, and Mrs. Davis leads that in Ed Services as well. And that's also where we have our LCAP come through, which is how we are going to spend those dollars. So really interesting work that's done there. Operating Steering Committee, which I was on before I was ever a board member. And that's really talking about the operations of the district. Operating Steering Committee has where our 2 bond committees have come from and started. And so that's Mrs. Galicia's department. And then wellness and safety committees. So we put a lot of those committees together as they relate to anti-bullying and a variety of different things. And that is all with Jerry Friedman and Dr. Fraser's office. And then parent-teacher associations, also known as PTAs, is a great way to get involved with your local sites. And there's also a PTA council, which is all of our PTAs that come together. And then our amazing friends groups, and they're really a fundraising body. I think a lot of people thought that PTA was always a fundraising body, and they do. But the friends of groups really developed about 15, 20 years ago, and they really have that focus of fundraising, where PTA does a lot of advocacy as well. So if you didn't know, there's a lot of ways for parents to be able to get involved in the district and in their children's school and education. And then the last thing I'd like to do is just like to thank our classified staff. Human Resources, Dr. Fraser and his team did an amazing job putting together a luncheon for our classified staff on January 5th. It was a beautiful, beautiful, clear, crystal clear day, and we were outside in our quad area outside of the district office, and our pardon me, our staff came and they had an opportunity to have lunch and to gather together. And sorry. And then also we were able to recognize our classified employee of the year, Armando Gomez. And he is such a wonderful, warm man. And he was sorry, it went in the wrong pipe. Wonderful, warm man. And he was just so taken back. And before the break, we also had a chance to recognize Dr. Pulver, maybe you can finish this for me so I don't have to put people through this.
I'd be happy to. Before the winter break, we got to recognize 3 other of our classified employees of the year. We'll bring all of them forward to a future board meeting, but Regina Brown, who is our attendance clerk over at Oak Middle School, Lisa Burke, who is an instructional aide, currently working at McAuliffe Middle School, but she's worked at so many wonderful sites. And then Tiffany Pennick is our supervisory employee of the year who runs our kids corner. She's the extended daycare supervisor over at Weaver. And just a great way to recognize our
Thank you very much, Dr. Pulver. All I needed was a sip of water. So that was a great way to start the year. And I do really appreciate your time. And if there's something that you are have interest in and you'd like to see in the president's report, send me an email, let me know, and we'll go forward with Did You Know? So we are now going to move over to our wonderful Will Brandenberger, who is freshly back from Mammoth, I know personally, and so I'm sure he's going to have a great report for us. Thank you, Will.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be back. I got to give a quick shout out to my mom. She got me a brand new tie for Christmas, and it's amazing. So thank you, Mom, right there. It's amazing, and it matches. I'm not very good at matching my clothes, so they helped me out with that. But good evening, President Hill, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, executive cabinet, and community members watching in person or online. I hope everyone had a wonderful break full of food, family, and relaxation. And while the 2.5 weeks off were great, I'm so happy to be back here to start off the second semester strong with my 8th board report. There we go. Winter break could not have started without the infamous finals week. Students took their 2nd, 4th, and 6th period classes finals on the 21st of December, and their 1st, 3rd, and 5th period finals on the 22nd. And after that, it was smooth sailing for break, but today marks the first day of second semester. Students have had their grades reset, meaning all assignments will now only affect the spring semester report card. I didn't really have many photos of students working, so please enjoy some photos of me pretending to work at Disneyland. With schools being empty the past few weeks, not a lot has been going on, but one magical experience that happened was ASB's winter retreat, which took place at the happiest place on earth. This day was full of many of us catching up with fellow classmates after the long break and waiting many hours in line. Some highlights included the 7 a.m. wake-up call for people who wanted to get to the park at opening, riding Indiana Jones Adventure 3 times in a row, and of course, lots and lots of churros. But no moment compared to when 37 ASB members waited in line 2 hours to escape from a Star Destroyer, as seen in the middle photo, on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance and make it safely back to the planet Batuu. And I don't mean to brag, but the cast members did tell us we were the largest group to ever go on the attraction together. But before we move on to athletics, I wanted to put a quick reminder for everyone watching that Winter Formal is next Saturday. Ticket prices are set to go up next week, and in order to buy one, parents must sign off on a permission slip that can be picked up in the activities office. The event will take place at the Los Angeles Natural History Museum and will run from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m., an event all grade levels will surely not want to miss. And now it's time to move on to athletics, and I'm so excited to share all the amazing wins for our sports teams, especially girls basketball, who have had a great season so far. They recently won 64-30 against Laguna Beach High School and 60-41 against El Toro High School. This moves them into a tie for second place in the CIF bracket for 3A. But it wasn't just the Lady Griffins destroying the competition, as boys basketball has also been killing it as well, having won their past 3 games. The definitive highlight from their season so far was their impressive win against Woodbridge High School, where they won 78-53. Girls soccer has also been winning recently, especially with their game against Troy High School, where they won 3-1. But winter break allowed the girls to mesh together as a team and build their chemistry on and off the field. And if you want to catch their next game, their next game is Thursday at 6 at home against Huntington Beach. But despite the cold weather recently, girls water polo has not stopped and proceeded to win 7-6 against Foothill High School last week. And just before that, they also won 12-4 against Corona Del Mar, and a great way to kick off the new year. All sports teams have really amped up their game, and they're doing such a great job for the start of 2022, and more is yet to come. During those last 3 days before winter break, Mrs. Farrell's 3D design classes put together a special treat for all students. Around campus, the 3D design students made sculptures depicting students in unique poses and locations. The sculptures served as a way to help students relax their minds during the few stressful days before winter break, allowing them to enjoy the artwork and maybe snap a picture. The sculptures took over 4 weeks to complete, and in total, there were 23 scattered around the campus. It was such a fun way to involve the whole school in the art pieces of their peers. And for our first teacher time of the year, we take to the classroom and the basketball court with the amazing Miss Kennedy. For what is now her third year teaching at LoSal, Miss Kennedy has been able to balance the workload of grading essays and coaching girls basketball. She attended Vanguard University, where she played 5 years of collegiate basketball, while also double majoring in English and psychology, as well as minoring in biblical studies. She teaches English 2 and English 3, but especially loves her time on the court with her players. Outside of school, she loves to go on adventures and record episodes for the podcast she started with her best friend from high school. And while her schedule is super busy, she always makes time for her little Maltipoo dog, Sadie. What Miss Kennedy loves about LoSal is the way it has connected her family. While she coaches the varsity basketball team, her dad gets to coach the junior varsity team. They get to stay connected every day and cherish time together while teaching students how to play and master the sport. Miss Kennedy is one of the most amazing people I've ever met because she truly cares about every one of her students and reinforces the idea that she's there to help. Whether it be how to write an organized essay or a personal dilemma you may need help on, she's always there to lend advice and words of wisdom. And I don't know about everyone here, but with everything she does on and off campus, it's going to be hard to beat her for my next teacher time. And now, with winter break done, many people got to take some time to relax, but people like Michael Henderson took to the slopes and snowboarded into 2022. Michael is a junior at LoSal and is a 2-year member on ASB, serving as one of the sophomore co-presidents last year and is this year on the Spirit team. Outside of ASB, he is also a co-president for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and has been able to share the gospel with those that attend the largest club on campus. But when he's not spreading the news, Michael is shredding the mountain. He's been snowboarding for 11 years now and has grown up going to Big Bear. During the season, Michael tries to head up to the mountain every week to perfect his skills. Through his 11 years of shredding, he says the hardest thing he's ever done was mastering the art of turning. Snowboarding is more than just riding down the mountain as fast as he can. It's about bonding with his family, especially his dad. Having childhood memories of gracefully flying through the trees, the serenity of the beautiful mountains allow him to develop and appreciate his relationship with his dad and God. LoSal has allowed Michael to start speaking and getting out of his comfort zone with not just FCA, but also ASB, to assume the leadership role he has strived for. Michael has 1 more year at LoSal, but has already made a huge impact on his community, family, and school. Congratulations on all the hard work, Michael, and hats off to you. And before I sign off for tonight, I wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. For my family all across the U.S., including my cousins Lindsay and Brandon from New Jersey, who watch every meeting, to my grandparents in Valley Center, my sisters in Texas, and my parents here in Los Alamitos, we all hope that 2022 brings everyone a successful and happy new year. But for now, that's all for this report, folks. Thanks for listening, and to those at home, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Excellent job, Will. As always, so exciting, and I'm so excited that winter formal is coming up. That is always a really great time for our students. So, Dr. Pulver or any staff members, do you have any? Any board members? Do you have any questions for Will?
Seeing none.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Will. And I didn't know about girls basketball, so I'm very excited. I will be going to a game as soon as we have one. So we are going to move on now, and we're going to move on to Dr. Pulver's superintendent's report. Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Madam President, esteemed members of the board and members of our community. Happy New Year as well. Thank you, Will, for reminding us about that. We are in 2022 and just really excited that our schools are back open to our students this week. I really have to give a lot of recognition to our bargaining teams who have negotiated our calendar the past 3 years, because the way that our calendars have been the last 3 years since the start of having to close schools, we've really maximized in-person instruction. When I think about the first year was when we started in early August, so we got more days of in-person instruction before every school district, I think, closed on March 13th. And then last year, as we all know, we pushed our calendar back to the end of August, and we were able to be one of the first, actually, I think probably one of the first across the state to open up for in-person instruction right after Labor Day with our elementary waiver. So really being able to extend that. And then this year, similarly, but the way that we had our winter break, our winter recess, was having the week, but a week after the new year, where most districts came back last week and certainly still seeing a surge. And not that we're not going to see necessarily a surge of cases. I think that extra week really afforded us some more opportunities to keep kids in schools, to keep staff to be able to get back. We also were able to receive the test, which I'll talk a little bit about later, that we were able to hand out to families before school started. So just really, I know there's a lot of thought that goes into our negotiations of our contract and our calendars. Not that we thought about COVID for our winter break this year, because that was decided 2 years ago, but really a smart choice, and we're the benefits of that. As our elementary schools reopened yesterday, and all of our schools opened today because yesterday was a planning day for our middle school and high school teachers between the 2 semesters. I'm really proud to report, even despite the number of cases that we've seen in the news, our attendance rate today amongst our students, right around 94%, which is incredible. That's really about the attendance we've had most of the year with various cases going on. Our high school was at 97% attendance rate today. So yesterday we did see a little dip at our elementary, but I also think part of that is sometimes when we have one section of our schools open, which is our K-5, and our 6-12 had a release day, a non-student day, it kind of complicates it for our students. So really pleased that we've been able to provide those opportunities. We are committed to in-person instruction for our students. One of the things, despite different things that are going on, we continue to hear from the public health experts that say one of the safest places for for students is being in school, that schools should remain open. I have not heard a single public health official across the nation advocate to close schools, and so neither are we, and I really affirm the board and our staff are committing to that ongoing process. Over the winter recess, CDPH did update the guidance in a number of different ways. I won't be able to articulate all of them, but one that I know was one maybe not everyone to look forward to, I know not all people, or probably myself included, is that for those of us who are vaccinated, we must continue to wear our face mask indoors, but we'll certainly go with the requirements of the healthcare agency through February 15th. Earlier it was extended through January 15th, and they've just extended that. For our school sites, that really, as we shared earlier, that really won't impact, because regardless of indoors, all individuals have to wear masks when students are present. It's really just if there's a meeting with parents outside of school hours or a meeting with staff outside of school hours. So we'll have little impact on our schools in that case. Additionally, CDC updated the guidance for when people can return from isolation from either being positive with COVID or having to quarantine as a close contact. CDC offers different guidance at times than states. Public health really is relegated as a state authority. And so CDPH does take a look at CDC. CDC does not require an individual to test after day 5. However, CDPH does. So that came out a little bit after. That if an individual is positive for COVID, in order for them to have a reduced isolation to after 5 days, they have to have their symptoms being resolved. They have to be able to have a fever not have a fever without the use of fever-reducing medication. That's another one CDC didn't add. COVID-19 symptoms improved, and they have to they should take a rapid test in order, and as long as it's negative, then they can return earlier. They do recommend not taking a PCR. A PCR test will commonly, people who have tested positive will continue to test positive for a few weeks. And so we have seen even people taking the rapid test still are testing positive for that. Similar for those who are close contacts. There would be too many to list the different scenarios, but if you're a close contact after day 5, if you test with a rapid test, you can return to school day 6. But remember, for our students, if both individuals are masked, students get the opportunity for what's called a modified quarantine, where students continue to be in school. They do not have to leave school under a modified quarantine. They must test by day 5, and if they have any symptoms, then they should stay out, but they get to continue coming to school. They just can't participate in extracurricular activities while on a modified quarantine. So one of the things we've been able to do, the state has wanted to provide and make available rapid tests to all students this year, particularly as we return from winter break. And so the extra week that we got, because the test did not come in until, we didn't receive them in our hands until I think it was Thursday morning. They came to the county Wednesday afternoon. We had a distribution on Friday right here in the district office. We said from 9 to 5 or until supplies last, because we received about 40% of what was promised to us at the time. But because there's 2 test kits in a box, we had a line starting, well, I think the first person wasn't in a line, but certainly before 7 o'clock. But we had a big line. We had double rows. It was coming into the track homes behind the district office. So we started distributing at 8:30, and I'm pleased to say that we had enough tests to be able to go and provide that to any family who came through all the way to 5 p.m. I have to estimate we probably distributed about 4,000 of the rapid tests. Kudos to our staff. We also took the test kits of remaining ones, and since there's 2 in a box, we created individual kits that we're delivering out to all of our school sites, because what we want to do with the additional ones that we received later this week and the additional ones we still have is to send them out to school sites. The goal is really to do whatever we can to maximize keeping our schools open and to have in-person instruction. And so the additional rapid tests that we'll make, we're going to be prioritizing for symptomatic students or staff, or people who need to test out of isolation or quarantine so that they have an opportunity to return to campus sooner. So proud of that aspect as well. And then it's not moving. Can you go ahead and move it? Next slide. And one of the things I just really want to thank our partnership with Orange County Department of Education. Orange County Department of Education has been trying to find ways. So what I think everyone's concerned about is sub shortage. There's a sub shortage that we've had all year long, and actually probably for the past few years, but even more so this year. And so Orange County Department of Education is providing sub support for every school district. Here, we just got notified that we will have 3 subs that the county will send to us every single day for the next few weeks to help fill in any sub shortages. For instance, today we had 4 subs that we couldn't fill, and so if we had 3, we would have only had 1. And so it'll be greatly needed, and HR will be coordinating that. So great support that Orange County Department of Education is providing. Orange County Department of Education has also they've been using our nurses, but our nurses can only work so many hours for us. So our nurses have also been employed by Orange County Department of Education to do contact tracing and COVID reporting into the evening, along with weekends. And they also provided that opportunity for that to occur over winter break. And our nurses, our health services team has just been amazing to work with, to be a great resource for all of our families. And if you remember, Orange County Department of Education really helped all of our employees through their points of distribution vaccine pods in the spring. So we just want to thank Orange County Department of Education for the continued ways that they find to support in-person instruction for our students. Next, I'd like to just kind of talk about, this is always the time of year. It seems a little bit silly that it is the new year that we're planning this far in advance for next school year for our enrollment. But we've traditionally held TK kindergarten parent information nights. We've held them in our Performing Arts Center. Last year, we had to do it only remotely. This year, we will be able to do it both in person for any family who would like to have a live opportunity to engage with us. And then it'll be recorded for any family who would really not prefer to attend in person. So they'll have an opportunity to view it the next day. So our kindergarten parent information about enrolling your child into kindergarten or transitional kindergarten next year. That parent information night is Thursday, January 27th from 6 to 7 p.m. And there's a variety of different things that we'll talk about what our exemplary program looks like in kindergarten, and just answer a host of different questions. So if you are having a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old looking to attend our schools next year, I would highly recommend. You don't need to RSVP, just show up. We're happy to serve you. And if not, then it'll be on our website the next day that's recorded. Next Tuesday, right after we return from our Martin Luther King holiday break, I guess I should go back to, we do have our enrollment deadlines or timelines. So for transitional and kindergarten, the enrollment week for district residents will begin January 31st to February 4th. For students who are coming to us from another district on an interdistrict transfer, we'll start accepting those permits on March 7th. And then the eligibility dates for kindergarten, your student must turn 5 by September 1st. This will be the first year where the transitional kindergarten is being rolled into adding additional days. So between September 2nd and February 2nd, if your child turns 5 between September 2nd or February 2nd, they can enroll for transitional kindergarten, and that's been pushed back. It used to be September 2nd to December 2nd. So remember, California is trying to create universal transitional kindergarten for 4-year-olds. They're going to phase that in over the next few years. On Tuesday night, a week from tonight, our middle school information night is coming out. That'll be Tuesday, January 18th from 6 to 7, once again, at our high school performing arts center, the PAC, we affectionately call it. And it's just going to highlight, it's intended for our 5th grade families or who are coming into middle school, or any family who's maybe from the outside wanting to join our middle schools at a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. We'll share the highlights about our course offerings, the programs available at our Blue Ribbon and National Blue Ribbon middle schools. The evening will also provide an opportunity for you to get information about our parent-paid before and after school childcare, and that'll also be at our kindergarten one. And for students who are looking to move on to high school, so for our 8th grade to high school, we also have a series of different opportunities for them to learn. February 3rd is transitioning to high school and beyond. That's presented by our assistant principal, Mr. Farver, who will really focus on sharing information regarding courses needed to meet A through G college requirements, high school honors, AP programs, et cetera. Later in May, early May, May 3rd, we have an 8th grade parent night, which is for a parent audience to give families an opportunity to meet their high school guidance counselor and to learn about the life as a Griffin. And then we will always host a 9th grade parent night, and that's usually closer to when the school year starts for incoming freshman families to get to know some of the people and the programs and services. So a series of different things just to kind of put on your radar now. And then lastly, I just thought I would just give a brief update on the recall of the board meeting in the fall. 3 of the board members were served with a petition to notice to recall. And the board members received a notice from the Register of Voters that the petition to recall the governing board members after the 4th petition the deadline was missed, and so the recall effort at this time has concluded. Anything new would have to start the process all over. So that's just a brief update on that. And back to you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pulver. That was great, and I think a lot of really great information for our families as well, and appreciative of all those partners. And we'd like to say we were really smart in starting a week later, but I think we got a little lucky is what we got. So, and we're very grateful for it to have so many students back in school, and those numbers were just tremendous. So this is the part of time in the meeting where we do board communication. And so board communication is when board members get to just share with the public the things that they do that connect them with parents and staff and school sites and activities and all the things that we do that hopefully make us productive board members. So I think we'll go ahead, and I'm going to start with Mrs. Davidson because that's who I see first.
I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody and hope you had a wonderful break. We're ready to get started again, and I want to thank all of our teachers and staff and administrators at every site for the hard work that they're doing. And this second semester, as we begin again, wish them all the best. I wanted to echo Mrs. Hill's praise of the wellness themes and wellness months. As we've walked across the campuses, we've seen a lot of the activities and the end products of these wellness opportunities. Most every school has a gratitude tree in which the leaves are created by every student saying thank you about something, and they're really proud of it. The kids will take you over there and point out their leaf. That's my leaf. That's what I'm grateful for. So it not only teaches kids to think of something they're grateful for, every time they walk past, they're reminded of all the good that's in the world. I also really appreciate every time we hear a student reflect upon some of the mindfulness strategies they're taught. And we got a great glimpse of that today when the Hopkinson kids were presenting some of the great opportunities and great events at their school. And the young girl, fifth grader, talked about how she's been experiencing some panic attacks or feelings of panic, and how going through all of this training had taught her to, literally, she said it so well that I wanted to do it, put her hands on a cool desk, stop and take a deep breath, rest, relax, and think about good things and how she can deal with the next second. So it's amazing. These are, as a teacher, having taught for 25 years, you always wonder what are my students taking with them, and it's such a joyful feeling to hear a child on her own reflect upon something really good and meaningful that she's learned. So very grateful to our wellness counselors, very grateful to LAIF and to everyone who's helped us build the wellness centers and has helped us get those counselors on our campuses. And thank you for that work, Dr. Pulver. And then in line with that, I wanted to thank Dr. Pulver and all of the administrators and team that did the drive-through. Because if you listen to the school districts across the nation who've had to open early, or even in California where they opened early, and the test didn't get there in time. So the kids went back to school with that, and the staff went back to school with not as many opportunities to check for wellness, to have the COVID tests. But because we had this week, and because as soon as the test came, all of you orchestrated this drive-through that wouldn't have been successful if you hadn't done such a great job publicizing it. I mean, 4,000, that's a phenomenal number. So thank you so much for that. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Dr. Jerry Friedman. He's our director of safety. And I think, he's one of those really true unsung heroes. From the beginning of this pandemic, he's been doing, coordinating tracing, doing all of that hard work, making sure they're safe, listening to different problems and situations at campuses, and and really keeping track with the county and doing all of that work. And so he's just, I don't know if he sleeps. I'm sure he has got numbers going through his head all the time, but thank you, Dr. Friedman, for all of the work. And that's just a tiny bit of what he does. And I think there are so many people, administrators and staff, that fall into that category. They're making this all work. We're going on 2 years. First district to open public schools, because of our community, because of our staff, because of our administration, our students, we kept our campuses safe. And that's a tribute to the very proactive work done at a district and site level. And it's what gives me faith to know that this district will get through everything. We'll get through, what is it now, Deltacron. I mean, there's a new name every week, and we will get through it, and we will get through it safely. So thank you for that work. Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. We'll move on to you, Mr. Forham.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Happy New Year to everybody. And we ended 2021 with some great Lion Pride Assembly at Oak, where the kids are recognized for going above and beyond, being fabulous kids. It was fun to go to Weaver and see the kids awarded for being attentive, one from each class, and what a great skill they have. And then what a way to kick off the holidays with the jazz Christmas show at our wonderful high school. I got to participate in recognizing the classified employees of the year for us, Regina Brown, Tiffany Pennick, Lisa Burke, and Armando Gomez, and that's the people that help us shine. They are a very strong component of the school district, and my applause to them. I usually end with kids, something about kids, but what hit me this time was what our room mothers do for kids. I had the honor to be able to help at the end of the holiday ceremony or fun activities at my grandson's school at Lee in second grade. And this mother walked into the room. She had prepped everything by students, so there was no arguing among who got what, or I didn't get this. True teacher fashion. She was just great. And I think they're like our unsung heroes, those room moms. And then they also, for those that can't participate in the class, they provide ways that you can donate to that. They have lists of, you can cut up this and bring it to help me, or you can provide these kinds of pens or ink or whatever. So again, I'd like to salute the room moms across our district. They're incredible. Thank you.
Wonderful, Mr. Forham. And then we'll move on to Mrs. Catuli.
Thank you, President Hill. Happy New Year to everyone. And it seems like it has been a very long time since we've gotten together, because it actually has been a really good break. I took advantage of it to do what I was telling every staff member I encountered before we went on our winter break. I said, take the time to decompress, take the time to relax, take the time to indulge yourself in something that you haven't been able to do. So that's what I decided to do, because I felt like I needed some wellness for myself also. So I really don't have a lot to report. I do want to say that North Orange County Regional Occupation Program, which is our consortium of career technical education that we're in with 4 other school districts, had a special holiday get-together for their district office staff. ROP is really interesting with their staff because of the fact that they work in 5 different school districts. So their employees are literally all over North Orange County. And their district office, which is located in Anaheim, has to support all of these teachers and supports the different school districts. So their district staff can feel very disengaged at times because they don't really see their people that often. And so it was really nice that ROP wanted to make an effort that say, yes, we are a family, we're in here together, and we're all dedicated to the same thing. So I was able to do that, and I was able to attend, which was great. And that's just basically it.
Thank you, Mrs. Catuli, and I'm glad you took your own advice. We should do that sometime. We will move on to you, Mr. Fayette.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam President. It was a great break. I want to say that we got to go to all of the celebrations of the district personnel of the year. This is an incredible district, and it's the people that do that make it so great. All of them were deserving. It was incredible, and it's just it's okay for a grown man to cry. I also want to say that the holiday choirs and the shows are just incredible. Seeing the little kindergartners try to sing a song, 3 of them, 3 classes trying to do it all together. Amy does a great job over there, and it was just pure joy. Took a lot of that, and I just want to say that looking forward to having a great new year. It seems like we're off to a pretty good start. We're in pretty good shape, and I just hope that we can keep it rolling and just keeping everything just getting better and better, and everyone can stay, healthy, safe, and sane.
Thank you, Mr. Fayette. And I'll just finish up really quickly and just say that we had a holiday gathering for the leadership. And at that point in time, we got a chance to honor our administrator of the year, who was Mr. Larson. And the surprise and the joy was amazing.
Mrs. Hill, you accidentally muted.
Yep, I won't mute. For some of you, maybe who did LaSalle at home with elementary school, you're very familiar with Mr. Larson, and he has just been an incredible gift to this district. So that was a great opportunity to celebrate with the administrative staff. And then had agenda planning with Dr. Pulver, and also had the opportunity to meet with some parents. And I do want to say that I know all of us as board members do this, but it's very important for us to hear from parents. And so whether, and community members. And so whether it is through email or if somebody wants to sit down and have coffee or just chat on the phone, that is something that I know every one of these board members are willing to do because you really are the people that we serve. I also want to do a little PSA. And so we talked a little earlier about traffic in our workshop as the high school calendar may change. And I just wanted to make everybody aware that the Los Alamitos sewer project is going on, and there is going to be closures between Catella and Lamson on Seal Beach Boulevard. And I know that puts us all into a panic, but I do believe that they are trying to work within hours that are less congested than others. But if you have specific questions, because it could also disturb parking and a variety of other things, and bus relocation, if you've got questions, you can go to www.ocsan.gov/Los Alamitos. And you'll be able to get more of those details. And I would just like to also echo Happy New Year. And this new year, it came to me with such joy in the refreshment of the new year and new opportunities that are coming our way. And so I'm very excited about that and excited about the opportunities that we have to really shine and really shine with our grace as well as we move forward into the next year. So that is it for me. And then we are going to go into our public comment section. And as you can imagine, it would be difficult for me to read the cards. So once again, Mr. Forham is going to be put to work. And so I will read the public comment open session items, non-agenda items, or items and non-agenda items. And then we will move forward and he will start calling those cards. The board welcomes input from the public. This is an opportunity for community to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited for a total of 30 minutes. And from what I understood, I believe we're at about 15 cards. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have 14.
Okay, so how does the board feel about giving 3 minutes to each one of those 14? Or if we gave 2 minutes, that would keep us under the 30-minute mark. I'd like to think about that. I'll finish reading this and we'll come back. Comment cards can be submitted to the district office anytime 9 a.m. and throughout the day of the board meeting. They will also be accepted at the start of the board meeting. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may not take action or discuss any items not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under the California law, no person is immune from liability from making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. So I would like to hear from the board on what we would like to do for time.
I support extending the 30 minutes and giving the speakers 3 minutes.
I agree with Marlis. Yeah, we don't have 50,
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
okay.
And I'm sorry, Mrs. Davidson, you supported?
I support extending the 30 minutes and giving everyone their 3 minutes. And Mrs. Catulli agreed.
So I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette,
Aye.
Ms. Catulli,
Aye.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Forehand,
Yes.
Ms. Davidson.
Aye.
Okay.
Wonderful. Then, Mr. Forehand, I turn it over to you,
All right,
sir.
the first card is submitted by Matthew Simmons.
Hi, yeah, my name is Matt Simmons, and first off, I want to thank President Diana Hill and also Scott for meeting with a group of 8 parents, each separately, to talk about the vaccine mandate and the resolution that's coming up tonight. So thank you very much. Really appreciate the accessibility. In addition, I'd also like to thank the parents. With 1 day's notice, received tons of letters from parents who basically do not want a vaccine mandate. Many of these parents will pull their children out of Los Al School District, myself included, because we will not poison our children. And this is not, these are not form letters, these are individually handwritten letters. So I want to thank the parents for taking the time. That's with 1 day's notice. Also, during our meeting with Scott, he did acknowledge that numerous parents, our school district would be significantly impacted with parents withdrawn. So this is a real issue. The number one question I have is, when did the resolution get changed? Because the one that was given to us early just had 3 bullet points right over here, and we kept on asking for it to be stronger and stronger and stronger. And then just on Friday, we were surprised with bullet point number 4, which basically says we will comply, and it actually weakens Los Alamitos School District's case. So we feel a little bit, when did that change happen? Because we do not support the resolution the way it is. We feel it weakens our stance and hurts the parents and hurts the children. In addition, we need to do a workshop. We just need to say no on this resolution, do a workshop, not make decisions in a bubble with last minute changes. It's also an insult to call the COVID shot a vaccine. It is not a vaccine. One thing, most vaccines last for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or your whole life. This lasts, it reaches its peak in about 3 months, and it's downhill from there. The CEO of Pfizer just yesterday said on CNBC, the hope is that we will achieve something that will provide way better protection against infections. The protections against the hospitalizations and the severe disease is reasonable right now with, or as long as you have, let's say, the 3rd dose. And then a side note is Bloomberg just said today, repeat booster shots spur European warning on immune system risks, basically saying frequent booster shots could adversely affect your immune system. So we're poisoning these kids. The rate of myocarditis is going up exponentially after each boost. It is not sustainable, and people will remember 1 of 2 things. Does the school board stand up for the children, or are they going to be part of one of the worst things ever? This is our children's life and immune systems.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Mr. Forehand?
Yes, Ruth Jordan.
Excuse me, I believe that the buzzer has gone off. Am I correct?
Yeah, you probably didn't hear. We just called up the next speaker. Just a reminder, we do want to make sure we can have the meeting with everyone present, but the face mask is required, so we'll just ask people to make sure they wear their mask. We appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me speak. I am grateful that we are here today, that you guys make it possible for all of us adults to come here together. This is an issue that we all have to kind of try to figure out on our own. We all have a common goal. That doesn't make any of us a bad parent. We're here for the safety of our kids and ensuring that they get the education that they deserve. So with that said, sadly, we all have different points of view, and I think that's okay. However, if you guys want to mask your kids, vaccinate your kids and yourself, that's fine. I won't judge. I will totally respect that. I only ask that you guys do that with us, because I will not vaccinate myself, nor will I vaccinate my kids. And I don't believe these masks work at all. So, sorry. So my problem with the vaccines, that's my place. Sorry. Anyways, my problem with the vaccine I feel like from the very beginning, we hit the panic button, and everything that we've done from then till now, it's all out of fear. Not everything, but a lot of them are. Why are we only just focusing on vaccine and mask? I feel like we're better than that. There's a lot more medications out there that we can use. Why are the government ignoring that? This is why I don't trust the government. It's not working. They promise us the vaccines will work, that we don't need it afterwards, and we don't need to wear a mask. And we're still social distancing. We're still wearing masks. If you guys believe that it works, why are the ones how come you still feel like you're not safe when we're not vaxxed, when we're not masked? Because you guys are all masked. Shouldn't you be safe, right? And they don't work. They're as useless as these plexiglass. You only have one little plexiglass and everyone else out here is breathing down your face, right? There's no logic in that. And another thing is, yes, N95, it does work. But the problem is it's limited of time, right? And children, you can't breathe in those. I wear them for 12 hours. I know, they're super uncomfortable. I get headaches, I get dizzy. I have to take multiple breaks. Imagine having your kids wearing that. Their metabolism is so much faster because they need to grow. If you cut off that oxygen, they're not gonna have sufficient enough oxygen to help them with that metabolism. It's not safe. So if you guys don't, agree with me, that's fine. But at least consider those possibilities, please. And respect what we want for our kids. Because I don't feel those jabs are safe for my kids. And I don't think myocarditis is something that we need to take lightly.
Thank you very much. Are we moving on to the next
Yes. Arlene Ripke.
individual?
Arlene?
Good evening, board members and superintendent. My name is Arlene Repke, and I'm here to talk and try to understand the resolution that you're going to be voting on tonight. I don't know why my phone's not. Pardon me. It's titled Resolution for District Statement Regarding COVID-19 Vaccine and Defined Exemptions. I do appreciate what the district has done by opening the schools for the children that's mentioned in this document. And I think that's laudable that the children are able to come back to the class. In looking at this, there's a part that says, whereas both parents and employees have expressed a desire for exemptions to be in place for students and employees who, due to medical conditions and or religious or personal beliefs, are unable to choose not to obtain the vaccine. So this topic is titled exemptions. The comment is about exemptions. And on page 2 of this document, it says, whereas, now therefore the Board of Education resolves as follows, and there's 4 items that of course you know, that the above recitals are true and correct. And number 3, that the board strongly urges the state of California and its agencies to keep vaccine, medical, religious, and personal belief exemptions in place for students and employees. So it says that you urge the state of California. It doesn't say that you're offering it to our parents, though. Number 4 says the Los Alamitos School District will continue to adhere to the CD Public Health and the Orange County HC Public Health guidance requirements and will cooperate with state and local public health in measures necessary for the prevention and control. Okay, so that's telling us that you're going to follow whatever comes down the pike that they'll demand. And then you're going to adopt this as it is, it looks like. I don't see anything in here, even though it talks about that parents want exemptions. It's titled as exemptions. I'm going to refer to another document here that says California law allows the state legislature and the Department of Public Health to set vaccine requirements for school children. They have that authority, but it does not include a process for local school boards. So you do have authority to vary a little bit and to absolutely have mandates in place, exemptions in place for the parents. Some districts, such as Los Angeles Unified School District, will.
Thank you very much for your time and your input. And we will move on to our next speaker.
Next is Hope Horning.
Yesterday, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky acknowledged regarding COVID that, quote, the overwhelming number of deaths, over 75%, occurred in people who had at least 4 comorbidities. So really these people who were unwell to begin with, end quote. The lockdowns, masks, and vaccine mandates were predicated on that myth that COVID was killing huge numbers of healthy people, which she just confirmed was simply not the case. The CDC's own website indicates the fatality rate for children from COVID nationwide is 0.00003%. And the state average in California on a 7-day rotating basis is 0. Accordingly, it is not warranted for children to be vaccinated for COVID-19. The CDC website, their director, and even Dr. Fauci now say the COVID-19 vaccine will not prevent infection or transmission, but it has now been found to only lessen the severity of the disease. So since it is a medical treatment at best, hence it cannot be lawfully mandated because treatments are a personal medical choice pursuant to California and federal constitutions. FDA studies, vaccine manufacturers' studies, and studies from multiple scientists across the nation and the world now show that these vaccines pose a grave risk of myocarditis, blood clots, and neurological damage, in particular to adolescent children. As such, the risk from this vaccine far outweigh the benefits, especially for young children. After meeting Mr. Fayette and President Hill last week, I'm disappointed to see the addition of item 4 to the now therefore paragraph of your resolution, which simply put says, you will do whatever you are told. I shared with both of you resolution language that has been passed by 146 California school districts, either directly or by signing on to their county school board's resolutions. Their resolutions made it clear they will not implement a vaccine mandate. I'm sorry that your resolution indicates that you do not have the will to err on the side of caution, to do no harm to the children of this district. The information I just shared with you was provided by Dr. Aaron Kearney, chairman of the UCI Medical Ethics. I hope you seek information from people such as him, that you change your mind so that you can make a final decision that you can live with, and more importantly, one the children can live with.
Marie Palmer. Marie Palmer.
Thank you very much. And I believe we are moving on to our next speaker.
We are.
Thank you.
Hello. I know that the vaccine mandates are not required at Los Alamitos School District, but here's some information if it does become mandatory that you may all want to know. I would like to give you some information. And did you know that due to the laws passed during the Reagan administration, in order for the drug makers to be granted more robust legal liability protection for their vaccine, they must first secure full approval for the children's version of their shot. That's why they are really pushing the vaccine for children, not caring that when taking the vaccine, there's damages that can occur. And they're not dumb. They know all this. Did you know a viral gene will be injected into your child's cells, which forces your child's body to make toxic spike proteins? Did you know this protein can cause permanent damage in child's critical organs, including their brain and nervous system, their heart and blood vessels, including blood clots, and their reproductive system? Did you know this vaccine can trigger fundamental changes to their immune system? Did you know that the most alarming part about this is that once it damages, there is no going back? You can't fix lessons within their brains. You can't repair heart tissue. You can't repair a genetically reset immune system. Did you know this vaccine could cause reproductive damage that could infect future generations of your families? Well, you'd all better start knowing these facts, because all it takes is one shot to one child, and this will affect you and your child for the rest of their lives. This is serious, people. No one has the right to monkey around with our children's bodies. You parents need to ask yourselves, are you willing to take that chance on your child? And the board, you need to ask yourselves, do you really care about the children of Los Alamitos School District? Because if you don't start defending these kids, we will find a board who will, because we do not accept the resolutions the way they're currently written. Thank you.
Next up is Christina Bowden.
Good evening. My name is Christina Bowden, and my son is a student at Lee Elementary. We love being part of the family. Dr. Pulver and the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's really appreciated. Thank you for including line 3 in the resolution, urging the state to keep vaccine exemptions in place and for the COVID-19, to keep vaccine exemptions in place for the COVID-19 for our school children. Yesterday, I emailed everybody a letter going in depth with regards to data and statistics, and I'm very appreciative of those who responded. I really appreciate that. I'm not going to get into all of those details, but in the most simplistic terms, the data provided by the CDC, the NIH, Pfizer's own studies, the data supports choice regarding the COVID injection. Choice is critical because there are known risks associated with these injections, some resulting in permanent damage to the body. Every day when we wake up, we all have risks that we take with the world, right? We all have different levels of risks that we're comfortable with and that we accept in our life. To be clear, I work in safety, so I know risk well. Risk is defined as frequency multiplied by severity. So how often something happens and how bad that something is. Some individuals choose to accept more risk than others for themselves and for their families, and the beauty is that we all have choice regarding that risk. For example, I've jumped out of an airplane and I loved it, right? That was risk I was willing to accept. Others would not choose the risk associated with that activity. And the same holds true for this COVID-19 vaccine for children. Families must be given the choice to determine what they think is best for their families. That choice is supported by the vaccine exemptions for families within this district. If the state enacts a COVID vaccine injected mandated for children to attend public school, it is of the utmost importance that this district supports those exemptions for our children. I am, however, concerned with the language stated in line 4 of the resolution. Just because something is a law or there is a mandate does not make it morally correct. We can easily look to history where laws in place were immoral in every sense. So I ask each of you to look within your hearts, and when we look back at this moment in time, which side of history will you be on? If the state enacts this mandate, will you stand for choice, supporting exemptions, allowing families the opportunity to evaluate risk for their children, or will you default to the state, supporting immoral mandates? If these exemptions are not allowed, I will, without hesitation, find alternative education opportunities outside of the school district. But thank you for listening.
Next, we're looking at Yaseng Yan.
My name is Yasing. I'm a business owner here in Seal Beach, as well as having 2 teenagers here at Los Al High, and they love it here. And I would hate to take them out if this requirement for the COVID injections were enforced. But first, I want to thank you, board, for your attention, for your presence, as well as the parents in this room. I learned so much already from what you said. I also want to thank Mr. Farhan, Ms. Cotula, and Ms. Hill for responding to my email. Thank you for your graciousness. Now, the CDC COVID injections do not prevent transmission. That has been known since summer. And despite the injections and boosters, there has been a high rate of transmission. The United States has over 60% injected, Israel over 70%, Iceland over 90%, and yet they're all cesspools of breakthrough infections. The COVID requirement is here, COVID basically is here to stay. It is endemic. It is no longer a pandemic. An example from the San Diego Unified School District, I think, shed some light on the fact that their lawsuit, basically the school district lost the lawsuit that basically said they could not mandate these vaccinations. Los Angeles Unified School District noticed that 40% of their Black students and 32% of their Latino students would not fill out that form, basically saying by inference that they were not vaccinated. And so that poses a very serious, I think, picture for us here in Los Al. What does that mean? When you have an entire population that's discriminated against, that now has to do in-home study, and then you have to have extra staff to not only support those students, but also to support the students in class, and then you have kids who will be withdrawing, like mine, homeschooling, much to their dismay. Trust me, they hate the idea. New York City, Portland, Chicago are all saying, hey, wait a minute, let's wait for the FDA to finally approve this. Let's do it right, not do it first. And so what they're waiting for is full FDA approval. But guess what? I do not think the FDA is going to get away with approving this. Why? Because there has been a recent Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the FDA. They asked for 75 years to bring forward the document of the clinical trials for these vaccines. The lawsuit won against the FDA, and so now the FDA has to bring forward these documents in 8 months. So I ask you, Los Al Unified School District, wait, do the right thing. Because I do not think that information that's being offered in 8 months is going to highlight how wonderful and effective the Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson vaccines are. Now, Newsom's statewide mandate, well, it's, first of all, illegal, and ICANN is in the process of suing them. So I ask you again, wait, do the right thing. I am going all over the place. Okay, I guess I'm done. Thank you so much.
Stacy Mueller.
I thought you'd know me by now, Chris. That's okay. I'm your favorite one. Thought you'd know how to spell my last name or pronounce it. Thanks for having this meeting and having it in person. Diana, I'm sorry you're not here. And thank you, Diana, for meeting with us, and Scott for meeting with us. I appreciate it. The reason why, Dr. Pulver, the schools are the safest place for kids is because kids don't get the virus. I mean, doesn't that make sense? If it wasn't the safest place, if kids were getting the virus at schools, which they're not, they wouldn't say that. That's a fact. That's a statistic that we all know. And if they do get the virus, there's a 99% recovery rate. We all know this. So I feel like I'm in a dystopian nightmare, to be honest, because I just can't believe that we're all sitting here deciding on whether to drug our kids with an experimental drug. And you're a school board. I know you know that. And I think you take it very seriously. You have zero medical background. And I would imagine you're very uncomfortable making these big decisions. So don't make them, because they're not your decision to make. It really isn't. Just because a tyrannical governor wants somebody to do something doesn't mean you do it. I think it's very important to push back 100%. This is not my job. to decide this for 9,000 students on whether they should get a vaccine. A vaccine that's a drug. It's an experimental drug. Let's be honest. It's not a vaccine. It doesn't get rid of the virus. So I would imagine, I would imagine that you're uncomfortable making these huge decisions that parents should be making. Don't make it and push back. It would be so wonderful to see you all say, absolutely not. We will not be making these big decisions that parents should make, and let the chips fall where they may. Be a leader. Be a leader and pave the way for people, and don't follow what everyone says to do. Science that can't be questioned is propaganda. Science that can't be questioned is propaganda. Question the science. Get down and dirty with this. This is too serious for you not to say absolutely not. Even if we need years and years and years of studies. We need peer-reviewed studies, number one. None of this has been done. We shouldn't be talking about this. This isn't our job. This is my job and parents' jobs. And some of you are parents, and that's your job, not a school board that has no medical background.
Next up is Lauren.
Can she hear me? She can hear you. Can I have her wave at me if she can hear me? Speak in the microphone. Can you hear me, Diana?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I want to make sure. All right, hold on, let me get in here. Oh, it can't start. I'm not reading. Okay. All right. Wow, that sucks. The government is the virus, the media is the spread, people's behavior living in fear is the pandemic, common sense and love is the cure. First time in history that the ineffectiveness of a medicine is being blamed on those who haven't taken it. Dr. Robert Malone, who helped make mRNA technology, is warning parents about permanent damage. The COVID vaccine could affect future generations and your family, from brain and nerve system to heart and blood vessels to blood clotting. Once the damage happens, you cannot repair a genetically reset immune system. When we have the Pfizer CEO saying we know that the second dose of the vaccine offer is very limited protection, if any. The third dose is a booster. They offer reasonable protection against hospitalization and death, less protection against illness. This is what the Pfizer CEO says. Moderna CEO says people may need fourth COVID shot as I can't say that word either. Something efficacy. I can't say that word, okay? Of the booster likely to decline over time. And thank you to Aaron Suri. Instead of Pfizer producing 500 pages per month, the judge forces FDA to produce 50,000 pages per month. Think about the best interest of the kids more than what's the best interest of the teachers union and the money in your pockets. Yesterday, after receiving an email from Superintendent Pulver saying 11 staff members and 71 students from Los Alamitos reported testing positive from COVID from January 7th through today, January 10th. Many individuals who tested positive have already completed their isolation and cleared to return to school. Please make this make sense. Oh wait, I remember, we play Simon Says with the CDC. What Simon says, I will do, like these ridiculous cloth masks you handed out as we're all sitting 6 feet away from each other. CDC says cloth masks don't work. Vaccinated can spread COVID. Pfizer confirmed COVID vaccinated people can shed spike protein that harm the unvaccinated. If you go through with this experimental vaccine shot, whatever you want to call it, and mandate this shot for our students, you will suffer the consequences of innocent children's blood on your hands. I hope you all make the right decisions. And before I forget, Back in July of 2021, Pulver, you stated to Spectrum News that you thought that
Next speaker is Bill Robertson.
Hello. Is this the FBI camera right here? I hear they're making a list. So did I make the list? You know, last week we had a Supreme Court justice lie to the country. This is crazy. You know, just not too long ago, the beaches were closed. I'm still trying to get over that. There's no repercussions for any of this crap. All we're asking, all these smart people that have gotten up and talked are saying, give us our freedom back. This government's just growing and getting larger. If we were in a restaurant right now with food in front of us, we wouldn't have to have a mask on. What's the difference? It's chaos. And you good people, I suppose, are just sitting there abiding by all these rules. What is going on? It's crazy. You know, we want you to love your freedom and love our freedom and our kids' freedom more than you are afraid of this virus. That's all we're asking. It's that simple. This is crazy, guys. Wake up. You know, the kids can get hurt just driving in a car to school. They have more chance of getting hurt. And you want to put this thing for this Chinese, you know, coronavirus thing. I've had the virus twice, you know, a year and a half ago and then not too long ago. Okay, so I've been through it. If you're older and you're scared of it, then you need to protect yourself, not take the freedom away from our kids. Okay, so let's love our freedom more than we are scared of this thing, you know? Thank you.
Dan Brandt.
Good evening. First, thank you guys, the board members, administrators, especially the board members. I know it's gonna be a thankless job sometimes, especially it's been years now. So we're still here though. First, thank Mr. Fryatt and Ms. Davidson, you know, phone call and meeting about this issue. I really appreciate that. You know that I wouldn't be here if I didn't care for my kids in this district, but we still have to talk about the vaccine mandate. That's why I'm here. I want to make sure that that resolution passes. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize that if there's a number 4 line that was added, that's kind of disappointing because it's kind of like playing Texas Hold'em, but showing your hand while you're betting. Why tell them that you're going to abide by it? At least don't show your hand, at minimum. So I would hope that that gets removed. I'm going to tell you, my family got COVID over Christmas. You know, no surprise, my kids were fine, no symptoms. My wife and I are vaccinated, right? We made that choice for ourselves. We had moderate symptoms. Right now, I know about 40 plus people, and I think everybody else probably does, that was vaccinated or boosted, they got COVID, right? So we're no longer where it's vaccinated or unvaccinated. The stop the spread in that aspect is done, right? Vaccinated and unvaccinated are spreading the virus. So I'm actually thankful we didn't vote last time on this resolution because more information's come out that Omicron is just spreading everywhere. So the idea is that we can realize that no mandate makes sense anymore because it's just spreading between everybody. My risk analysis, I've talked about risk analysis several times since I've been here. It changed even more the fact that people are spreading it one way or another. My kids have had COVID. I'm making a decision for myself that I don't want them vaccinated because I don't know what the long-term effects. We keep telling ourselves, what's long-term effects? We don't know. What's their impact of COVID? We're seeing it even more. So You know, it's ridiculous that the CDC finally, we've been talking about this forever, and people, my friends are like, or some of my friends are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Because, you know, I kept saying, kids aren't getting hospitalized that much. It's because they go in for, like Fauci says, a broken leg. Now that it's convenient for him to say that, broken leg, they just get tested more, right? So now they have COVID, hospitalization. So that's crazy, it's just coming up now. I think we need to do this mandate because we need to send, some people say, why do we need to do it now? We need to send a message to the legislators, such as the Senate and the Assembly in California, to tell them that we're not going to stand by, because it's going to be hard to get everybody together. If the wind moves one way, they're just going to pass something. We're going to have no time. So please remove line number 4 if that came down. And please, thank you, and I just hope you support the resolution. Thanks.
Karen Webb.
Good evening. My name is Karen Webb, and I've been a parent in the district about 13 years. I do want to first thank you for keeping the schools open. It's been very important for my kids and their success, so I do appreciate that and the time that you're taking to listen to all of us voicing our concerns. I'm here tonight to encourage you to voice opposition to the state vaccine mandate. I ask that you respect personal medical decisions and whether a person chooses to vaccinate or not. Communicate that every person and child in this district is valued and treat them no differently. Basically, don't show that if somebody's vaccinated, you can have your mask off. You know, if you're going to treat them one way, treat them all the same. It's so important to our kids not to feel isolated. I really think that that's part of the inclusive aspect of Los Alamitos, which I've loved all of the years that we've been here. So I want to make sure I bring that up. The state mandate, while promoting the greater good, does not have years of science behind the decision. For example, there was about 20 years of smoking before there was enough evidence to even tie it to lung cancer. I know smoking's not the same thing as this vaccine, but science evolves. We learn as we go. And there's just not enough time to be putting this in our kids' bodies without having that knowledge. Let us as parents take that risk, not you as a school board. I just want to reinforce what some of the others have already said with that. It is proposed that the vaccination reduces symptoms, which it may, but it does not prevent getting COVID, as some other people have said. And there are risks such as myocarditis and stroke. While we can follow the science, much of it is dynamic, which I've said. Proponents of the vaccination have good points, but so do people who oppose this vaccine. In fact, just this week, as somebody else mentioned, it came out that from the CDC that 75% of COVID deaths are attributed to people who have 4 comorbidities. I recognize that you guys are in a tough situation in trying to satisfy everyone, but I think it's pretty evident that all of us feel a certain way. But I ask that you please vote to give the power to all of us people and all of us parents, and let us make the decision for our children. And the families that are here, let them make the decision for their children. And what's best for their bodies, please help us stop the mandates and restore the respect that we should have for one another. If somebody chooses to vaccinate, I support you. If somebody chooses to not vaccinate, I support you. And I think this is really important that we communicate that, because our kids are watching us. Our kids are watching how we are responding to this.
Ian Jameson.
Good evening. My name is Ian Jameson. I'm with Los Angeles Leftists for Choice and Unity. I work with Nicole Pearson of Facts, Law, Truth, Justice. She is the attorney suing LAUSD, and we just got the second largest school district in the country to push back their vaccine mandate to fall 2022, and we're not done there. We're going to kill it. With regard to the vaccine mandates, this is an open and shut issue. 21 U.S.C. Section 360 BBB 3E 1A23 says that any emergency use authorization medical product cannot be mandated. That's the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, that's the Moderna vaccine, and that's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. None of the vaccines being given out right now have full FDA approval. All of these mandates are illegal under federal law. Additionally, under California Health and Safety Code, Section 120335B11, there are two entities in California who can mandate vaccines for students: the California the California Department of Public Health and the California Legislature, not bureaucrats on school boards and not the governor. Those two entities and those two entities alone. Additionally, California Health and Safety Code Section 120338 mandates that any mandated vaccines have to be accompanied by personal belief and medical exemptions. All of this is illegal, and we are not standing for it any longer. But I don't want to talk about the vaccine mandates. I want to talk about the mask mandates. COVID masks are also EUA medical products. Under federal law, it is illegal to mandate them. Your district's mask mandate is a violation of federal law. Additionally, the mask mandates are also a violation of California Education Code Section 49005.8A3, which forbids any physical restraint which restricts pupils' airway. It's also a violation of California Education Code Section 49005.8A4, which bans any behavioral technique which restricts the student's ability to breathe. So you guys can either respect state and federal laws, or we can sue you and protest you 24/7. I can have every cable news outlet in Orange and Los Angeles counties out here within 48 hours notice. This is not a Democrat issue, it's not a Republican issue, it's not a libertarian issue, and it's not a centrist issue. This is an American issue. And we are not going to allow you to abuse, injure, and kill our kids anymore. We're going to unite, we're going to fight, and we're going to win, goddammit. Thank you.
Amy Vrooman.
Hi, my name is Amy Vroman. I am a parent. I did not know about this until the last minute, so I don't have anything prepared. But I don't have anything prepared. My question is, so I am what's called vaccine injured. I got my MMR and DPT shots as a kid, and I have scars this deep on both sides of my hips. My body did not absorb the injection. From that point on, I've had every rash you've ever even could name on the books. My uncle's a doctor, chief of staff of the hospital, and the joke was, there is literally not a single rash left that you have not had. I have other friends that are vaccine injured, their children, and it is the exact same case. People like me, and those are shots with decades of research behind them. So that being said, this doesn't. Whether people get, I don't care. Get a vaccine, don't get the vaccine, do whatever it makes no difference to me. The only thing that makes a difference to me is that choice, because I don't want my daughter to have to wear a bathing suit and worry about the scars this deep on her, or blood clots, or God only knows what. It's just about having that choice and what happens when it is mandated. So she has to stay home and be punished and not be able to. She's an only child. There's no one to play with. There's nothing. So that's my concern, and those are things that I think people forget to take into consideration, that there are people that have been injured from vaccines that have been around forever and that are currently required. So at this point, I did have the vaccine. I got them. They had to be removed from my system because they literally sat on my skin on both sides. They removed it, lanced, and removed the vaccine. So at 41 years old, I don't have a measles shot. I don't have none of those shots. So I'm susceptible to all of those. Have I ever had any of those? Nope. But I was horrified when the time came that I had to get my daughter these shots to come to school, because I didn't know what was going to happen. But I rolled the dice, and here we are. But with this, with zero research, I'm good on that. So I just hope you take that into consideration. We love
having my daughter in LaSalle. So thank you guys so much.
The last card I have is Lou Hernandez.
Hello, I'm Lori Hernandez. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, and I turned in my card late. Thank you for taking it. The longer I sit here and hear from all of you that have spoke, I can't help to get really emotional thinking about what we're actually facing. And like, we're all human beings. I do know that, I believe. We all have family members. I do know that. And with all due respect, what authority are you choosing to mandate this over our children? If you choose it, like many have said, way more well-spoken than I am. So mostly I just have a really heavy heart that it's even to this point with our great school district. Of all the other topics that have been controversial and covered, and this is the most important one. And all of you spoke so eloquently and with passion that I might not, but I do want to read part of an email that was sent to the board earlier today by Arlene Repke. And we've all heard about mRNA is different from the standard vaccines that we've had. And even as near as the 4th of January of this year, the CDC explains that the mRNA vaccines, what they're calling vaccines, are different. They actually create the problem within you, and then your body has to create the antibodies to fight it. We all know that none of this is approved. So to get to the point of what I wanted to read from this letter was the liability. None of you have any liability over what happens to any of us, only yourself. If you choose it for yourself, and what come what may, that's what happens. But you have no liability, none of you. Only the parent and the child that's left with possibly, hopefully not, a detrimental situation. And we talked about myocarditis, and some children are having heart attacks. And the most important part I wanted to read from this was, would it be okay with you personally, honestly, if you are here for our children, would it be okay personally if one of our children was severely damaged or died from this? Would it have been worth it? Would it be worth it? What if it was by chance of the lottery, it was your child or your loved one? Was it worth it for that one? No. So my God, please listen to all these people speaking and wait. There's no, unless you're going to win some billion-dollar lotto personally that you need this for, there's nothing to do for our children. And yes, we all say many people will take their children out, and that's not much of a threat to you, and who cares, and we're the greatest school district with our blue ribbons and all that. If you care about the children, your vote on this will reflect that, and we will all know it. And like they said, wait, look at the other school districts. Too much is coming out. Would it be worth it if your child was severely injured or died from this?
Chris, I believe that was the last card and the last speaker. Is that correct? I'm really having a difficult time hearing Chris.
Yes, that concludes the number of cards that were submitted.
Great. Dr. Pulver, is there anything that you would like to clarify on the comments? As we've said before, we will discuss this issue. We'll discuss this issue when it comes up. And so we appreciate your input, but I didn't know if Dr. Pulver wanted to clarify anything before we move forward with our agenda.
Yes, just a couple things. One was just there were some members of the audience who weren't clear if you could hear them, and really the only individual that you were having difficulty hearing was Mr. Forehand, but you could hear all of the public speakers. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for that. And then I still think, even though we read the current draft of the resolution at the last board meeting, and it's certainly there in print, there are various individuals who I still think are confused about what the resolution the board is considering. They are not, let me be very clear, this board has not entertained any mandate enforcement of a vaccine for students. There's no word of the word mandate whatsoever in the resolution. It really is trying to balance the voices that parents have heard, where parents have asked to be able to have choice, that that the state does respect parents' wishes and to allow for personal and medical exemptions in how the state may implement it down the road. And so we were asked by this community, by many of you who are in this room, asking to us to advocate on your behalf. Maybe it's unclear that is a portion there. We also hear from parents who do want it, and so I think that's trying to be reflected, which I'm sure the board will talk about during that item. Additionally, there was an email or a statement. I don't send out the COVID notifications, but the COVID notifications come from each school site. The notifications that all of our school sites received was for any transmission that occurred from December 23rd, which was when our schools had gone on to winter recess, to when we reopened. So that probably would have been the email you were referring to. But with that, we can go ahead and carry on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pulver. I do appreciate it. And so, board, do you feel like you need to take any kind of a recess, or would you like to move into our information presentations and our consent items?
I'm ready to move on.
Great. Okay, then we will move on. So our next item is information presentation. It's our quarterly report on the Williams uniform complaint from October 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. Dr. Frazier.
We're presenting the quarterly Williams report. There were no findings, so we're putting it forward as presented. Thank you.
Great. I will look at a motion that we accepted.
So moved.
Second.
What's that? Ms. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Gatuli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's easy to accept a report that has nothing on it. The next items we're going to go into are our consent items. Consent items are the regular business of the board. Occasionally, we will pull an item to highlight an item, or if we have questions. But it looks like I have no pulls for this consent calendar. Is that correct?
Correct.
Great. So I'm looking for a motion for consent 12A through H.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Gatuli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Amazing. Wonderful. So we are now moving on to our action items. And our first action item is the discussion and consideration of a resolution for the district regarding the COVID-19 vaccine and defined exemptions. And I would like to address, and if the board thinks that we need to read any portion of it, we certainly can. But I do want to clarify, as Dr. Pulver did, that this really is a resolution that we are addressing as a communication to our elected officials. We have had, we brought this forward in our December meeting. We wanted to make sure there was some comments at that point in time that said that, you know, you've put this on the agenda and nobody knows about it. And we said, okay, and we had a robust discussion about it. And we said we would not vote on it at that point in time and that we would bring it forward. And so I know that our desire is really to make sure that the exemptions are kept in if this continues to move forward the way that it is. We did add that fourth bullet point, but it really wasn't an addition. If you look at the resolution that you have prior, it wasn't a resolution as a number four, it was an addition as number 4, but if you look at the resolution that you had prior, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, whereas states that we are cooperating with the state and local health officials. And I understand some of your hesitation to see that as being the same thing. But we also have heard from a lot of parents who said, oh, are you going to decide to be the health officials and decide what you can and cannot do? And that is not the desire of this resolution. The desire of this resolution is to make sure that we are here, we have the strongest voice that we can go forward for all of our parents. And so we can influence our state officials, and I believe that's what the resolution that we're looking at to put forward is actually to do. So I wanted to state that, and then I will look to board members to see if, I guess I just take a quick straw poll. Does anybody feel the need that we need to read this or read this read this out loud in any more depth?
No.
No? Great. So I would like to have a motion that we move this resolution forward as presented.
I move we move the resolution forward.
I second.
Great. Now I'd like to have some discussion. So Mrs. Gattuli, do you mind if we start with you?
No, thank you, President Hill. I'm going to start by repeating what I said last week, what my friend had said. There's no judging in COVID. And she said that was so 2020, and we're already now in 2022. So we really should have no judging in COVID. Personal opinions are your personal opinions, and everyone should respect one another's opinions. I received many emails with many different opinions in the emails. My favorite one was the person who said that they agreed with me that I am not an epidemiologist or a microbiologist, and she suggested what we all just need to do is to contact and speak with a trusted healthcare provider. So I thought that was actually an insightful thing to say. I am vaccinated. I do feel that it is one of the fastest way for us to get out of our COVID situation. But I have always been a supporter of parents. I have always felt that parents know their children best. And in a public school, it is our duty and responsibility and charge to educate the kids to the best of our ability. But now we're talking about the health of the children. I know that many of our older students are vaccinated against COVID. Our younger students, not so much. We also have no provisions that were ever suggested from the state on what we do with the children who parents don't want them vaccinated. They have no suggestion like, can we put them in a separate school? Can we just do online teaching? There's no mention whatsoever. And the idea of cutting loose even one child because of this is truly hurtful to that child, and it's not good for them. I support this resolution because I feel that the exemptions in it are valid, and that, like I said, a parent knows their child best. And I just don't feel that anyone has a right to tell someone that in a situation that we are now, where yes, it's been COVID, we're going to come up to our 2-year anniversary on COVID, unfortunately, fairly soon. But when you look at the long road, 2 years isn't that long. And our kids are young, and they are still growing, and we don't know what's going to happen with them. So, and they have that natural protection. Very few of them are getting sick. One of the speakers mentioned that, is that there are just very few of them that are really getting ill. It's the older adults, myself included, that you have to be more concerned about what we're doing. So I think we need to let our state legislators know that if they make a decision to take the exemptions away, to take the decision-making ability of our parents away, that they are doing something that is going to be hurtful and harmful. This is how we do it through this resolution. I have also said months ago that we all need to contact our local representatives at the state and to let them know how we feel. And I think I'm at the point now where they just go, oh, M. Catuli, and they kind of like throw mine away because I sent so many up there. So this is a more formal, official way that shows that we're representing someone other than ourselves. So I think this is what we need to do. We need to do it to protect our kids. We need to do it to allow parents to make a decision about their children. And also we need to do this so that our staff can make decisions about themselves if they feel that way. So I am in support of the resolution, and we do need to vote on it tonight. Excuse me, I have allergies. Nothing COVID related, just grass related basically, and dust and stuff. So we need to do this tonight because the legislators are getting ready to, the governor put his budget out. So now everybody's back up in Sacramento and they're tackling things now. And this is going to be one of the things they tackle. So if we don't vote on it now, I'm afraid if we wait to the end of the month or February or something, if we keep massaging it, its impactfulness will be diminished a lot. So I think we need to go forward with it. And basically, I believe in vaccinations, but I also believe in parents knowing their kids. And I don't feel I have the right to tell any parent to give their kid vaccinated with this. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mrs. Catulli. Mrs. Davidson?
One of you said that this must be a really difficult decision, and it is. Everything about COVID has been a difficult decision on personal levels, on community levels, as a board member, as a part of this whole battle. I personally support vaccinations. I've had my booster, my vaccinations, but I have concerns about the way that this is being orchestrated. So my concerns center around a commitment that we have made as board members to educate all of our children. The issues of mental health and learning loss for our students concern me, and whether we can provide a safe environment on our campuses, not for just the vaccinated, the unvaccinated, but we are committed to providing a safe environment for all of our staff and students, and we've done that. With the issue of a mandate for the vaccinations of students, there are questions and issues that have not, for me, been sufficiently addressed, and they have impacted my decision-making and support of this resolution. When we closed schools in the beginning, and when we returned to hybrid, state and federal funds were provided that enabled our staff to create LaSalle at Home virtual learning choice for students. Our teachers worked hard to provide a quality program under adverse circumstances that was guided by the rigor and standards of our district. Under this current mandate requiring vaccinations, any unvaccinated student removed from the classroom is offered only a county-wide online program that is completely disconnected from the work being done in our classrooms across the district. That bothers me. If we are going to remove unvaccinated students from our classrooms, then funds need to be provided for a district-orchestrated online program in order to ensure the best possible education for all of our students. We can't just say, you're not vaccinated, you go. That's not part of public education. In terms of mental health and learning loss of our students, they go hand in hand. When students when they're learning and feel valued, engaged, and connected, when their mental health is at a high point, they will learn, they will succeed. But students don't learn who are emotionally devastated, traumatized, and isolated. So the best place for learning takes place in the classroom with the educators interacting, researching, and exploring together. Study after study has shown the damage done to our children who were kept in isolation during this pandemic. Even a strong remote learning program cannot provide the social emotional connections that take place in a classroom or on a campus. Our kids need to be with kids. Our kids need to be with caring adults. To remove students and put them in a county program pushes them from their community of learners, friends, and mentors. You might think that this isn't a problem. Some of you might not think that. Obviously, it's not you guys. It is the choice of a parent who chooses not to vaccinate his or her child. However, although I understand this perspective, I don't think it's that simple. Many of those who are not ready to vaccinate their children are vaccinated themselves. They're not ready to vaccinate without more information about the long-term impact from the vaccine. They're not ready to vaccinate when you say, okay, get a booster in 6 months, Well, maybe you need another booster in 6 months. Polio was eradicated. I grew up at the very tail end of that when kids were put in iron lungs, but it was eradicated, and we didn't have to have a shot every 6 months for the rest of our lives. We don't know how we're going to handle this, and I understand for parents that can be confusing and concerning. They're not ready to vaccinate without more information. The vaccinations that are currently mandated, like polio, were not mandated until 2015. There was decades of evidence that proved their value and their long-term, and the lack of long-term impact for the vast majority. Without any long-term data, I question ending exemptions. My own grandson, because I've mentioned him before, was vaccinated, got both shots, didn't have any reaction, but that was a decision his parents made. I said nothing. For nearly 2 years, this district staff, families, and community have worked selflessly to follow mandates and guidelines. We were the first to open in-class learning in Orange County. All of us worked and paid attention to constantly evolving data and information that informed the science to fight the pandemic in order to keep our schools open and in order to keep our children safe. We are asking to maintain the exemptions. This is an ever-evolving, complex situation with no clear end in sight. We will continue to be as proactive as possible with each and every aspect because our families, staff, and community deserve the best we can provide for them. If the mandate is issued, mandate doesn't exist right now. It was released in a press conference as a possibility. If there is a mandate and there are exemptions, then everybody still has choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. Mr. Fayette.
Thank you, Madam President. I first would like to say thank you to all the parents that met with me and reached out to me and provided all the information, podcast, articles, everything else. So thank you very much. I know this is a very passionate issue on both sides. I've kind of struggled with this because I have concerns. Turning away a child from a good public education over something as nebulous, information bombardment, information overload from all different sources. How is a person to decide? How do you sift through what is best for your child? I don't know your child. I try to do what the best of my ability, what is best for every single child. There is a timeline. The earliest anything can happen would be September of next year because it isn't approved. There is no actual mandate at this point from the government, from the governor or the legislature or the health department for children. I think to act on this resolution is premature. How much information has come out just in the last 6 months and the 6 months before? It's constantly evolving and changing. I also think that this resolution falls outside the purview of the board at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Fayette. Mr. Forham.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to thank the board and the community for providing an additional month that we've been able to get community input regarding our resolution. And believe me, I have received many emails containing articles in support of vaccine mandate, as well as many emails stating that whether to vaccinate their child is their decision as a parent. These emails have stated the opinion of both experts for vaccination as well as experts against vaccinations, as well as many personal opinions. I am acknowledging all these emails sent to me and conversations held with me. Firstly, I was elected to represent the many, many opinions of my trustee area, as well as all parents in our school district. I was elected to ensure that our students have access to high-quality in-class instruction in a classroom environment that ensures safety for all. The governor nor legislature has not made any funding to provide an at-home instruction program as we were able to have last year. And they too maintain that in-classroom instruction is the best. I'm not a doctor, nor do I believe I am to make choices for parents on whether to vaccinate or not. This resolution states very clearly in numbers 2, 3, and 4 that as a board, we believe that in-person instruction is invaluable. We support vaccine exemptions, and that we will follow the rules set out through our legislature. The resolution is aligned with what the governor's current stance is. He has not mandated anything. As we move through the next months of this ever-changing situation, with perhaps no clear end in sight, I will continue to be proactive to make sure our kids, staff, and community get the safest and best education possible. In that, I support the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Farham. So I'll finish up just by saying that to me, I feel one of my main jobs is to make sure that I'm giving parents the choice that they ask for their students. And parents are the one, I think one of the speakers tonight talked about the risk reward. And I think that is so well put. And that's really a parent's choice on the risk to reward, especially as we have seen that unlike polio, this isn't eradicating the virus. And so a parent has that should be a parent's choice. I also believe that we've done an amazing job of keeping our students and our staff safe for the past year and 3 quarters through all different kinds of variants that have come up. And part of that is that because we have followed the health guidelines and we have made sure that we have done everything in our power to keep our students in the classroom and to keep them safe. I also know that when you're really close to an issue, it's really hard to see any other perspective. And I think it's a board's members' job to put their own personal belief aside and to look at those perspectives and do everything they can to balance that, to give parents the most amount of choice in the decision of the health of their child and how they're raising that child and how they're educating that child. I believe that this choice, this ability to make our own determination of risk versus reward is one of the things that makes this country so incredibly spectacular. And when we start to eliminate that choice by blanket mandates and taking those choices away, that makes me really concerned. And so I want to move this resolution forward for a couple of reasons. And I heard Mr. Fayad, and I understand what you're saying, but I also know that this is not set in stone, that this is the resolution we have now. This is what we're saying to our legislators now, with the information that we have, with where we think they're going, with what our parents have told us. And so that doesn't mean that if something dramatic changes in the future, that one way or the other, that this board can't, and we hear from parents that this board can't come back and say, this is where we are now. but I believe that this is where we are at this moment in time. And I believe that, as Mrs. Gatuli said, they may very well be getting ready to discuss some of these things. And I would not be doing my job if I let this opportunity to go by to have the voice of many parents on many different sides heard. And I think this resolution does that, and it balances that. And so I really think this is the time. And I'll also say that our children out there right now are so unsure of anything in the future. And we know as adults, we can never know what's going to happen in the future, right? But our job as parents, as a society, is to protect our children and to give them peace of mind so that they can grow and they can develop. And the things that keep getting thrown at our students, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do this, and schools may close. All of these things is not consistency. Consistency is what children need. They need to be in classrooms. They need to be consistent. They need to feel safe. And I feel that this district takes that task at hand and does it fully engaged. And I so appreciate all of the staff and the teachers and everybody who does that. And that's what we need to do for kids. And we need to keep them safe, and we need to make them feel that things are consistent and that we have their backs as well. And so for that, I feel that it's really important to take a vote on this resolution now, and for us to be able to continue to move forward with the district, the business of the district. So I will call for a vote. And so Mrs. D'Angelo, if you would do the roll call, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Fayette.
No.
Mrs. Catoli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
And Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
I believe that we passed that 4-1, and I appreciate all of my colleagues, all of your support, all of your concerns, and I think that is what we do in a democratic process. And I thank you all very much for moving through this process. We are now going to move on to the second reading and approval of a revised board policy 6154 on homework. Mrs. Reed.
Thank you so much, President Hill. We're bringing this board policy forward as presented for a second reading. Just in summary, the changes on the board policy are in regard to turning in late work when students are absent from school or under a suspension.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Reed. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I actually have a question, and I just thought of it. So I hope I don't blindside anyone. But I was just thinking, I'm glad that we are allowing more makeup work, because I think that is so important on many different levels. Mm-hmm. We're going through our challenge success where we're looking at how we're doing things. Well, this is probably just your personal opinion and it may change. But do you think that after our staff goes through the challenge success, that we would be revisiting this and maybe making adjustments to it?
So that's your perfect timing, Mrs. Catuli. So we actually have been working with our administrators for about the last 6 weeks prior to entering into the winter recess, collecting current research on homework quantity and homework time by grade level and content area. And so our administrators are going to be working with their prospective school sites. Ed Services will be working with leadership teams, partnering with Challenge Success, and really coming back to the table, hopefully in June, to revise our policy to be updated to current homework research practices that benefit students and are more in alignment with good teaching and learning practices.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I have, when my kids were at school, I always felt that there was a lot of homework. Sometimes you just needed to get your work done a little more efficiently than you're actually doing it. But I do know, particularly in the secondary, that it is always, this has been a question that has probably since the first homework assignment was ever assigned in the one-room schoolhouse, when you're going to get this done. So I'm glad that we're looking at it. My personal opinion, which really makes not that big a difference, is that I think that homework should be a reinforcement of what you learned in the classroom. And some homework is a very good thing. So, but yeah, I'm glad that you guys are looking at it, though. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
This is a board policy, as Deputy Reed mentioned, that we will probably revisit. But it's important for us to pass the update tonight because there are some things legally that we are out of compliance that we should be make sure that our policy is compliant, and then we'll spend the time to continue to revise, which is just the LoSal way.
Thank you very much, Deputy Superintendent Reed and Dr. Pulver. And then I will go ahead and call for a vote. Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette?
Yes.
Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Mr. Forehand?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson?
Aye.
Fabulous. As we go ahead and move on, we are now moving on for the adoption of the Los Alamitos Unified School District Resolution 2021-2022, authorizing signatures of designated district personnel and board president. This means I can sign important stuff.
So moved.
Do I have a motion? I'm trying a little levity, people, little levity.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr.
Mrs.
Fayette?
D'Angelo?
Sorry.
Aye.
Mrs. Cattouli?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Mr. Forehand?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson?
Aye.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Mrs. D'Angelo, sorry to put you through so much extra work this evening. Now we're looking at the approval of an increase of the Los Alamitos Unified School District board members' monthly stipend by 5% pursuant to the board bylaws. And Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Madam President. This is your measly stipend you receive as a board member for the countless hours that you do. The board for years and years never changed their stipend, and so we're way behind your counterparts of other Orange County boards. And so this is once a year you're allowed to increase that. We did not do it last year as we did not have an increase for any of our employees, and this board has always paused on this until all agreements have been made with our employees. And since that has been resolved, we are recommending to move forward with this increase.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mrs. Cattouli?
I would just like to also mention that at one point, because I've been on the board 21 years now, at one point, a superintendent was looking at how, because we are one of the lowest paid districts in Orange County, to increase the amount of money we get to try to compensate us a little bit more. Although I can honestly say no one has ever become a board member because they thought they were going to get a lot of money and great fringe benefits. So anyway, but we actually looked into receiving mileage compensation because of driving all over the place. And the board at that time discussed it, and the conclusion we came to as that particular board was it wouldn't be worth keeping track of driving from Lee to Rossmore to the district office, and so we didn't do it. So there are other ways that board members can actually increase their stipend, and in LaSalle we have always opted not to do that, and we have always been really very reticent to raise it. But even with the cost of how gasoline has gone up, that this about $16 a month might cover some of the gas then.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, a
Mrs.
quarter of
Cattouli.
a tank.
Anybody else have any comments? I just want to say that I also am, I think leadership matters. And I think that as leaders, we don't even look at the simple 5%. And I think that comes like to $7 or something. But we wouldn't even consider that without making sure that all of staff is taken care of first. And I do really appreciate our board for that and always putting the first things first. So thank you very much for that. If there's no other discussion, Mrs. D'Angelo.
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Fabulous. The next item that we will move to is the approval of warrants. And there was a lot of them. And warrants are the bills that the district pays. And every bill that is paid by the district, the board reviews. And if they have any questions about what things are, they ask, and Mrs. Galicia is always wonderful at getting us the answers very quickly, so we know what we're approving. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. D'Angelo.
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Ms. Davidson.
Aye.
Fabulous. We are now moving on to the acceptance of donations. We pay bills, we get money from the state, and we get amazing donations from our community. As we have several pages as they roll past. I want to highlight that the Los Alamitos Education Foundation has made a bunch of very generous donations to our various school sites. And I was speaking with Dr. Pulver earlier today, and he explained to me how they have really moved to a kind of a grant process, which I think is great. Other organizations in the community do that as well. Like if Run Seal Beach has always done that as well. And so there has to be an applying, and then grants are given. But we are so incredibly grateful to everybody who donates to this district. And big month. So almost doubled our donations. And so we're just very grateful. So I would look for a motion that we accept donations as presented.
I move we accept the donations.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Yes, it was motioned and seconded. It's hard to hear if our mics aren't right next to our mouths.
No problem. And then, Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
And Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Perfect. Our next items we will group together, and that's our classified personnel report and our certificated personnel report. And Dr. Frazier.
Thank you, Madam President. I am bringing forward both the classified and certificated personnel as presented. And I just want to say we're still looking for substitute teachers. So if you're out there and you are interested in serving your community and making a little extra money on the side, and you have your bachelor's degree and you're interested in the process, please reach out to Human Resources or jfrazier@losal.org, and we can help you through that process.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Great. Any discussion?
I just have one quick comment. So I talked to Dr. Pulver. I would substitute right now because of the need, but I can't hire myself. So I do volunteer. But those of you out, former teachers, people in the community who have a few days, we would love to have our own community helping us out in this time. And you get to choose, what days you work. And you can even say, which is what I would say, don't have me sub in science or math, because that would be more detrimental than nobody being there. Mm-hmm. But I would love to do middle school, language arts, or high school. So think about it. 1 or 2 days a week, 3 or 4 days a month, whatever. We really could use you.
Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. Great PSA. And I did notice that we did hire some subs, and I was really grateful to see that on the report. So thank you very much, Dr. Frazier and Mrs. Davidson. Mrs. D'Angelo.
Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
And Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Well, I believe that concludes our open session of our meeting. I do believe that we need to go back into our closed session, but I do want to thank the public who came and spoke, and our wonderful Hopkinson Huskies for making this a really special evening. So do I have a motion to adjourn into closed session?
So move.
Great. I don't think we have to do a roll call on that one, do we?
You can do it for good measure since we did a motion and a
We have a
second.
motion, yeah.
Mr. Fayette. Mr. Fayette.
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Great job.